Good morning, girls. We're in Proverbs chapter 5 today, and there's some really interesting language in chapter 5. This is where he really starts to contrast wisdom. We said that wisdom is a path that leads to life, and then there's this other path that leads to death. And he's going to compare wisdom as a faithful woman and this other path as an unfaithful or a wayward woman. So here he really characterizes this other path, this adulterous path, and he says, she gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths wander aimlessly. Last week in chapter 4, we saw a few things that wisdom gives you in verse 6 through 9. She will protect you. She will watch over you. She will exalt you. She will honor you. This is wisdom. And to contrast that, this is what you get when you follow this other path. You wander aimlessly. You lose your honor. Verse 9, you lose your honor. You lose your dignity. There's nothing that comes out of that. And we know this. Like, if you take a path where you're cheating or you're cutting corners, it might seem okay for a while, but in the end, it's going to lead to nothing. And then in verse 21, it says, for your ways are in full view of the Lord. He examines all your paths. And then in verse 23, it says, for lack of discipline, they will die, led astray by their own great folly. So when you take this other path, it's going to end up in ruin. And we talked about the fear of the Lord. So the fear of the Lord should make us feel like we don't want to be on a path that's not with God, that is not leading me to God. And we also know that when we cheat, when we cut corners, even if nobody else knows, God knows. The Lord sees everything. In verse 21, everything is in full view of the Lord. So it's just smart, right? To follow wisdom and have her lead me to God than to follow this other path where I wander aimlessly and I end up absolutely nowhere. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this week's reading, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.